My lemon sugar cookie pie recipe is easy and delicious. If you love thick sugar cookies with plenty of frosting and you like pie crust, this dessert is for you. Let's go over the ingredients. For a 9-inch pie, you will need 1 stick of unsalted butter, half a cup of light brown sugar, 120 grams, half a cup of white sugar, 105 grams, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 150 grams, a tablespoon of lemon zest, or 1 teaspoon of zest and 1 teaspoon of extract, 1 teaspoon of almond extract. I think it's going to go really well along with the lemon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and 2 large eggs. And of course, off to the side, a 9-inch pie crust that is unbaked. I'm using homemade, but you can use store-bought. This recipe is super easy. All we have to do is melt the butter in the microwave, add the other ingredients together, pour them into the pie crust, and then bake. Then when the pie cools off, I will add the frosting. So I am going to put this bowl into the microwave covered for probably 1 minute until the butter is melted, and then I'll bring you back. And while I'm doing that, I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that my stick of butter is melted, it's time to make the filling for the pie. But before I forget, I wanted to add that I'm also going to be putting in 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. It's easy to forget something. Honestly, like I said, this recipe is super easy. You just throw everything together. The only thing is that you want to add the eggs last. So I recommend starting with the sugar or the flour. We want to add the eggs last because the melted butter is very hot. And if we add the eggs, we might accidentally get scrambled eggs. So it's a good idea to add the other ingredients first. That way they will help bring down the temperature so that you do not cook the eggs. Lemon zest, a good amount of zest. I'll actually scrape that off camera. So now I'm going to stir to combine, and then once this is mixed through, I will add the eggs. As you can see, everything is well combined. I tasted it and I like the way it tastes. So now I'm going to add the eggs. The temperature has come down enough at this point that I don't think I'm going to accidentally cook them. As you can see, the eggs are now fully combined into the batter. So now all I have to do is pour the mixture into my unbaked 9-inch pie shell. You can see it's sitting on top of a pizza pan. That is so that it will be easier to take in and out of the oven. I highly recommend doing that. Just putting it on a baking sheet, in my case a pizza pan, something. Once the batter is in here, I'm just going to spread it out with my spoon. I'll scrape this off camera. Then I'm going to bake my lemon cookie pie with almond at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, uncovered, for, I will let you know how long. My cookie pie just came out of the oven. It was in at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, uncovered, for 45 minutes. It looks and smells delicious. My pie has been out of the oven for about 3 hours. It's totally cooled, so it's time to put on the frosting. To make my homemade frosting, I'm using 1 cup of powdered sugar, 120 grams, 2 tablespoons of canola oil, 30 grams, 1 tablespoon of water, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice for a total of 30 grams, 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and some food coloring to make it orange. I'm guessing maybe a 1/4 teaspoon each of red and yellow, but we'll see. I also have some sprinkles that I'm going to put on when the frosting is still kind of wet, but it's very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix everything together here. And then when it comes together, I'm literally just going to spread it over the top. If you don't want to make it lemon flavored, you could just use water and maybe a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, or maybe if you really like vanilla, a full teaspoon. I don't want to break this too much. Like I said, I need some of the food coloring. Maybe we'll start off with 10 drops. 10 drops of yellow and 10 drops of red. It makes sense to have yellow food coloring if it's lemon flavored, but for some reason my yellow food coloring doesn't really make a brightly colored yellow. So that's why I'm going with orange. So the amount of powdered sugar should have been doubled, 210 grams, we'll say. I just kept stirring it to break up the lumps, because this powdered sugar is a bit old. But now it is good. So you can see just a couple minutes and a couple ingredients gave us some nice homemade frosting. I'm just gonna put on top like this. And then spread it out. And once it hits the cookie pie, you want to make sure that you spread it out fairly quickly because it does harden pretty fast. I guess this frosting turned out to be kind of an orangish red salmon color. Not what I was expecting, but that's okay. It's only been maybe 5 minutes absolute max and the frosting is already setting, so I don't want to mess with it too much. I'm just going to add a little bit more right here. Now, since the frosting is still wet, I'm going to take my sprinkles and just take them over the top. I highly recommend adding the sprinkles while the frosting is still a bit soft, a bit wet, because they are going to stick much better. After I let this first layer of frosting harden a little bit, I made some green almond vanilla frosting and used it to write a celebratory message on the cookie pie. It was my way of celebrating my 10,000 subscribers. Reaching the 10,000 subscriber mark is definitely a big accomplishment, so I wanted to do something special to celebrate. And I thought, what better way than a celebratory cake, or in this case, a cookie pie. And when I took my first bite, I knew that my lemon almond cookie pie was a big success because it was absolutely delicious. Even though lemon and almond isn't a common flavor combination, I had saw it used on the internet and I wanted to give it a shot, and I'm glad that I did. The two went together extremely well, complementing each other in a way that is really hard to describe, but I can tell you that it definitely worked well. I think that the hint of molasses from the light brown sugar was very nice in the background as well. So like I said, everything worked together perfectly. The frosting was a perfect finishing touch, with the lemon juice and the extra lemon zest really amping up the lemon flavor even more. The vanilla almond flavoring in the green frosting was very nice as well. So like I said, even though the flavor combinations were a bit unconventional, everything worked together very nicely. I also liked how this looked. The frosting was a bright, eye-catching color, and I think that the reddish orange, if that's what you want to call it. I'm not sure what word is best for it. Underneath the green really made the green stand out. The sprinkles added even more color, making this cookie pie seem even more festive, which was exactly what I wanted considering why I made it. And now that I'm holding the first slice up to the camera, you can see that the cookie layer and the frosting layer each had a nice amount of thickness without being overwhelming, so they complemented each other perfectly. The lemon almond cookie layer was soft without being soggy, and the frosting started to harden on the outside, but it wasn't brittle. If you really like those store-bought sugar cookies with sprinkles and brightly colored frosting that a lot of people rave about, I would say this was similar to that, except this had a lot more flavor and the frosting wasn't quite as hard. But I think that if you left this cookie pie exposed to the air for 12 more hours, the frosting would harden even more and it would be very similar to those store-bought sugar cookies. Although I thought that this cookie pie turned out perfectly and everyone who tried it agreed with me, maybe in the future I would think about adding little bits of crushed almonds, but other than that, I wouldn't change anything. Overall, I was really pleased with how this turned out. It tasted great, it looked great, and it was an awesome way to celebrate hitting 10,000 subscribers. Hitting 10,000 subscribers is a huge milestone, and it's kind of amazing to think that I started this channel back in June of 2018 and I'm still here sharing my recipes with the world. It's been a lot of fun these past 6 years sharing my recipes with the world and seeing your comments telling me that you like the videos, you tried the recipes, you loved it, your family loved it, your friends loved it. Now you've incorporated recipes into family traditions. That is just awesome. So thanks for sharing that with me. I have a lot more great recipes coming soon, so stay tuned. But like I said, this cookie pie turned out great. I think if you want to celebrate something and not make a cake, but you still want to do something special, a well-decorated cookie pie is definitely an option. So if you make this, I know you'll like it. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.